Right now, President Trump is en route to Belgium for the start of the NATO summit. The president and the first lady boarding Air Force One this morning. The president will attend NATO meetings in Brussels before heading to the UK. Then in a few days, he'll head to Finland for a summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin.
On Capitol Hill, Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh will meet with lawmakers today. Judge Kavanaugh has served on the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals since 2006. He previously clerked for the man he could replace, Justice Anthony Kennedy. Kavanaugh worked for former independent counsel Kenneth Starr as well during the Clinton investigation in the 90s. Now the suspense is whether Kavanaugh will get confirmation from the U.S. Senate.
For an inside look and, of course, his Whopper of the Week, we turn to our Washington insider, Mark Sandalo. So, Mark, does Kavanaugh have the votes to win confirmation?
He does, Michelle, so long as Republicans hold together. There are 51 Republicans in the Senate, and they got rid of the filibuster for this. So as long as Republicans vote together, no problem. But here's where the difficulty is. John McCain is recovering from brain cancer, and many think he will never return to Washington. That's one Republican vote down. And then you've got two women, Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, both Republican senators who say they're very concerned about Kavanaugh's record on abortion rights. If they lose both of them, then Republicans will need to find some Democratic votes to push Kavanaugh through. So we're going to have some drama over this as the hearings get started, most likely in the middle of September.
All right, drama for sure. So, Mark, if confirmed, how would Kavanaugh change the nature and the balance of the Supreme Court?
So the assumption, of course, is that he will move the court to the right, Ken. He will, replacing Anthony Kennedy will be a much more consistent conservative vote, although no one ever knows for sure. But a couple of interesting things. Obviously, it doesn't change the male-female ratio. There's still 5 men and, 6 men and 3 women. Interestingly, take a look at the educational background of these justices. This is the current court with Kennedy still on there. You might notice a little Ivy League bias there with Harvard, Yale, and then that big outlier, Columbia Law School. That's because Ruth Bader Ginsburg followed her husband. She was at Harvard. He got a job in New York. She graduated from Columbia. Now with Kavanaugh in the mix, take a look at the next set. Here's how it would look. Not a whole lot different there. Biggest difference, Harvard, rather than having 5 to Yale's 3, would be 4 Harvard Law School graduates to 4 Yale Law School graduates. University of California, it's been since Earl Warren was Chief Justice of the Supreme Court almost a half a century ago that a UC graduate was serving on the High Court.
Oh, boy. All right, once again, President Trump wins your Whopper of the Week.
So now he's claiming, and he's done this before, that illegal, undocumented immigrants are responsible for murders, and he cites a study saying they're responsible for 25,000 murders. What he fails to point out, that study was over a 50-year period, included documented and undocumented immigrants, and there were 1 million murders during that period, meaning that immigrants accounted for far less murders than American citizens. Once again, Trump wins this, and it's worth pointing out, why do we week after week point to President Trump on this? Because you can disagree about Trump's wall to Mexico. You can say it's good or bad not to let Muslims into the country, but those are policy debates. When the president starts telling you about statistics or saying that the U.S. pays for 90% of NATO and such, which is demonstrably false, he's either mistaken, he's a liar, or he's delusional. And not to point that out, that would be journalistic malpractice.
All right, from immigration to Ivy League law degrees, Mark Sandalo with all the insight from Washington, D.C. Mark, thank you.